In today's episode, we plan to start the V6 Buick powered E46 BMW. So a bit of a background story on this car. It came up for sale on Marketplace. I don't really know too much about it. I just seen the ad and it said that it was V6 and it was turbo. A very vague description of what it needed. It said that it didn't run, didn't start, and that was basically it. Immediately messaged the seller and said to her, okay, I'll grab it. When can I come and pick it up? So we arranged a meeting. I paid the money for it and basically brought it home. The seller did mention that the vehicle potentially overheated, didn't start. So basically that's where it's at today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just show you all the features and stuff that it's got in it, the modifications that it's got, and basically put a battery in it and see what happens. So one of the first things you notice, it's got a big front mount intercooler on it with this pod filter right here. It's got some kind of oil cooler on it as well that looks like isn't hooked up. 17-inch wheels. Discs are pretty rusty, so it has been sitting for a while. I don't know how long. Tires look pretty new on it, surprisingly. Pretty good tread. Tow hook, not a good sign. Exhaust wise, looks like about a 2.5 inch. With a little dump on it. Back brakes also pretty rusty. Gauges everywhere. So from what I can see, we've got a boost gauge, there's a water temp gauge, big tacho, speedo, fuel, all these various lights, Pioneer head unit. A whole bunch of spare parts. Looks like there's 2 mirrors, shifter, and the radio controller. So this is what I paid for it. I'm gonna blur out the name so we can't see it. But there you go. Received full cash payment of $1,500 as my mechanic at the vehicle said the vehicle wouldn't start. As the vehicle wouldn't start. That's the price. So that's basically what I paid for it. Pretty good deal if you ask me. And here we have the power plant. 3.8 litre V6 Buick. Got no idea what sort of condition this motor's in, but as you can see, it is turbocharged. Leaves down here which indicate it's probably been sitting around for ages. It's got a modification plate. Oil looks good. Got the coolant down here. Transmission fluid. Looks pretty red, which is good. I've got the key with me here, so let's see what happens when we try and start it. Absolutely dead, completely dead. So we're going to go chuck a brand new battery in and see what happens when we try and turn it over. New battery is in. Let's see what it does once we turn the key. Ooh. Well, that's a pretty good sign. Engine is turning over, but for some reason it's not starting. I can hear the fuel pump turning on. There's a potential that it might not be getting to the engine. So what I might do, I might grab a little bit of Aero Start, spray it down the intake and see what happens. We've got something a little bit interesting here. I've just pulled the intake off, and if you look inside there, it looks as though we are full of condensation and rust. Damn, it's not a good sign. So my assumption is this car has potentially taken in a little bit of water or a lot of water. I know that there's a filter down here that sits very, very low. So there's a good chance that potentially that's what's ended up happening. The intake plenum there is very, very condensed up, and there's even a bit of rust in there, as you can see there. Geez, not a good sign at all, but I do have faith in these 3.8 litre Buick motors. They're a pretty durable motor, probably one of the durable or toughest motors that I've come across. I've owned a few of these in the past, and you just can't break them. I've tried. I've basically hammered the living daylights out of them. I've drifted these cars. I've done all sorts of stuff, and they just keep lasting and lasting and running forever. Potentially could have ingested some water, or maybe the turbo blew and send some coolant into the intake. It's just unknown. So what I might do now, I might pull the spark plugs out, see if we got any water in the cylinders. The engine is turning over, which is a good sign. So I'm hoping that we haven't bent a con rod or anything like that. So we'll get into that. So I've just removed 3 of the spark plugs. This one here looks like it was broken. This one looks like it's had a bit of water or something on it. But yeah, not in good shape at all. And this one here, if it'll focus, looks like it might have a bit of water on it as well. And here we have the remaining 3 spark plugs. So as you can see, it looks like it's got a coating of water on them. They are pretty black, which indicates the car's been running pretty rich. Alright, so we got our spark plugs in. We've got one more thing left to do on here. I noticed that the fuel gauge was showing empty, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put about 10 litres in, and yeah, we'll give it its first start and see what happens. Okay, so we are basically ready for a first start. I've just filled it up with fuel. We've just cleaned the plugs out. So they were pretty dirty, pretty black. Clean them all up nice and clean, replaced one of them as well. I'm going to leave this intake off for now because I have a feeling there might be some water in the piping, judging by the rust that we've seen earlier. The only thing that I'm sort of a little bit worried about is this fuel reg not being connected. It might be over pressurizing the fuel system. So we'll just see what happens. All right, so here we go. Oh, she is running. There we go. Boom. Fired right up. Although a little bit rough. But no silly noises coming from it, which is good. It is running a bit rich, as you can see by the black smoke coming out the exhaust. But hey, look at that. A set of plugs and she's good to go. Alright, so let's jump in and see how it drives. First drive, here we go. Oh, it's in gear. Really stoked how it's all turned out, that the car actually runs and drives. Wasn't too sure what to expect, to be honest. I know that these motors are pretty bulletproof. I'm just hoping that, you know, one of the head gaskets or something like that isn't stuffed in it. Seems to be running a little rough, but I think it's over fueling due to that fuel regulator being unplugged there. So I'm going to sort that out next. I've still got to find the issue of why the intake there is so corroded. You know, it's condensation coming from somewhere, so I don't know if it's taken in some water or something like that, but I'm going to pull all the intercooler piping and the intercooler apart and have a look inside there. Plans for this car is to do the fueling right, fix anything up in it. I'm not sure how much boost it's running, but judging by the actuator there, it looks like it hasn't got a T-piece on it, so I'm guessing the just wastegate pressure, which is probably around 7 psi. The plan is to give it more boost, somewhere around that 14 pounds. Fix all the little niggly bits up that are wrong with it. Get everything, you know, sort of close to 100%. It is going to be a budget build. It's not going to be a high dollar build or anything like that. So everything that I use is going to be strictly budget. It does seem to have an exhaust leak coming from down here somewhere, which I'll probably have to sort out. You know, even things like this pod filter, which is just dangling there. Do that properly. Get it on a dyno, see how much power it makes, and basically go from there. Thanks for watching. Have a good day or night wherever you are, and tune in for the next episode as we start pulling this car apart and sorting out all the little bits and pieces that it needs. So until next time, I'll see you on the next episode.